Hello there, and welcome to my new guide about guild halls in Dwarf Fortress. In this video, I'm going to explain how guild halls work, how to set one up, why you would need one, and what they are good for. So, first of all, to set up a guild hall, we require a room, which we can announce to be a guild hall, obviously. So, the first thing we'll need to do is then to set up a meeting area inside there, and don't forget to include the walls. And now we accept that. And here we can announce it to be a guild hall. So now the game will prompt you to answer which kind of guild hall do you want to establish. That's where things are a little bit less easy to understand. So first of all, let's talk about how these work in general. So whenever your dwarfs do the same job, they will ultimately form a guild. So for example, here the Ranger Hall, it has 13 workers and they already have a guild. So at the moment your job will have 10 or more workers, your dwarfs will actively ask for a guild. And before that though, you can already set one up. It doesn't hurt you in that regard. It's just like add a threshold of 10 workers in a specific job, they'll start asking for a guild. So we're going to establish the Stoneworker Hall here as a example of how to pull it off. And let's do this. So it's now assigned. We have now a guild hall. So what next? The thing about the guild hall is it doesn't require any people you assign there. It has no certain required furniture items, nothing. It's just a place for your people from the craft to meet, socialize at, and exchange their skills. That's the really interesting part. Also, dwarves that are not part of the guild will also come there to check out what there's happening, to watch the demonstrations and all these things. And altogether, your guild hall is a place for your dwarves to socialize at and to exchange stories at and all these things. So it is a important variation of your meeting areas to begin with. And the fun part about the guilds is even before they are established with many workers, these 4 workers here will get on in there and socialize together already. It's just like only after 10 people your dwarfs will want to have more people. As you see there, this guy's already hanging out with his pet pig and socializing with his pig. Whatever. So you see that's the basic uses. To summarize, it's for socialization, for happiness, and for exchanging skills, and after a certain threshold, your dwarves will actually wish for a guild hall like that. But we haven't fully established the guild hall just yet. There is one requirement guild halls do have, and that's value. So when we check out this here, this is still considered to be a meeting place. It's worth around 200 dwarf books, and it has to be 2,000 to be considered as an established guild. So when the dwarves in your city ask for a guild hall, they mean that you establish it with the interior value of at least 2,000 dwarf books. So the ways to increase the value are quite simple. You can, for one, smooth and engrave the environment. That's why it's important to include the walls. And for another, you can put in furniture. And the fun part about that is you can also just put in beds, whatever. I'm just taking beds here as an example because we have jewel encrusted ones. So when you check this out, this is already considered a lot more valuable now, because those beds are actually quite valuable. And the interesting part about that is the game doesn't really care about what you put in there. It's really about the value of the items you put in there. So it grows more valuable just by the items you put in there. So whatever encrusted or engraved or however valuable items you have, or somehow decorated doors or high quality items in general, put them in there. Also a good place to display those items of high crafts dwarfship, you know. There's a lot of good things that you can make happen there. Statues are always a common site where you can just increase the value. Well, one last thing, engraving of course works as well. Engraving is roughly 50 dwarf bucks per tile. So to establish a guild hall, you really only need to smoothen, engrave, and put a few more valuable items in there. And most of the time you should be already there to establish the guild hall. And that's pretty much it. You see, we're already almost there. So there's really not that much you need to do for a guild hall, and it's very easily accessible. It's a very easily accessible way for your dwarfs to exchange their skills. It is a quite valuable thing to consider that in jobs where quality matters a lot. So, for example, if you have any metal smiths or weaponsmiths or the like, and you want to have them improve their skills as quick as possible, establishing a guild before the 10 dwarfs threshold, for example, is a pretty good idea, because this way you'll make sure that your dudes will socialize with one another and make sure they'll be in touch with their skills and distribute their skill development equally. So all in all, you'll have an easier time getting your skill levels up. Beyond that, well, it's mostly a happiness thing. I gotta say, it's a happiness thing and a requirement for the people in your city. But if you deny them the building of these, basically they'd just be unhappy. They'd be not. It's not that those dwarfs in the guild won't be working anymore or anything like that. It's just a something they desire. One of the many things your dwarfs desire. So, also one thing I wanted to notice, as you might have realized there, it's I'm checking this and it just doesn't change. It just doesn't change. That's partially the reason, because the estimation of the value of the room is always linked to your I think it's the bookkeeper or the broker, one of these. I think it should be the bookkeeper. Well, no, the broker. So the better the skills of these, the more accurate the estimated value will be. But if you want to be sure, the moment you have enough points there, if it's a required building, you'll also hear a little jingle. But to show you one there, then you'll have the guild hall at a 10,000 dwarf bucks. You'll have a grand guild hall. So I hope you found that helpful. I don't really have to add that much more, except for it's really an easy way to exchange skills and make your dwarfs a little bit happier. And feel free to ask questions, add things that I have forgotten down there in the description box below and the comment section. Sorry. I'd be really, really happy if you did. Also, feel free to drop a thumbs up on that video. I'd really appreciate subscriptions as well, because if you liked that video, I do daily content, and chances are you'd like the rest of the stuff I'm doing here as well. And there is also a playlist link found down below leading to the other tutorials for Dwarf Fortress I did, and feel free to check out the support links as well. A big thanks to the supporters at that moment. I really, really appreciate. Have a nice time. I hope you check out the next video as well, and have a great time gaming.